Welcome back to Actionable Intelligence. We are joined now by Victoria Toensing, former Deputy Assistant Attorney General, and Joseph DiGenova, former United States Attorney. They are friends of mine, friends of the program, and they are also friends of and oftentimes counselors to Rudy Giuliani, the president's lawyer, who just finished a press conference in Philadelphia. I want you to hear a little bit of what Mayor Giuliani just said.
Not a single Republican has been able to look at any one of these mail ballots. They could be from Mars, as far as we're concerned, or they could be from the Democratic National Committee. Joe Biden could have voted 50 times, as far as we know, or 5,000 times. The ballots could be from Camden. Philadelphia, unfortunately, and I would say this about my own city, has a reputation for voter fraud.
Now, Victoria and Joe, you heard what Mayor Giuliani just said. Where do we stand from your point of view in terms of the legal issues right now that are in play in the election?
Well, right now there is a panoply of issues in various states. Issues concerning a recount in Wisconsin, which may very well lead to litigation. In Michigan, fraud involving the creation of 100,000 votes instantaneously being delivered, all of them for Joe Biden, not a single one, not a single one for President Trump being delivered to Cobo Hall in Detroit, and all of a sudden flipping from Trump to Biden. And then in several other states, like Arizona, which the calling of that race for Biden has been rescinded because of technical errors involving huge computer glitches, which deliver tens of thousands of votes to Biden. So things are all up in the air, and that's about it.
And the thing that Rudy was talking about was Pennsylvania, because they had all these ballots coming in, and they would not allow a Republican to monitor it, which is just unconscionable. And I would think illegal.
Yeah, and Victoria and Joe, give us a sense, right? Because people look back to Bush versus Gore, and I'm going to ask you to comment on that in just a minute. But many people think that this may take the Supreme Court ultimately to be making decisions regarding this election. Give our viewers a sense, if you could please, for the things that the Supreme Court has and has not done already, and what the Supreme Court might be likely called upon to do in the near future.
Well, Eric, let me just tell you how the law works. Under the U.S. Constitution, state legislatures shall determine everything about congressional elections. Time, place, manner are the exact words. It's shall. It's not may, can, it's shall. And so what's happened, let me just give you two examples, Pennsylvania and North Carolina, which are two, battleground states. In Pennsylvania, the state legislature did. It said 8 p.m. on election day, that's the deadline for getting any ballots that are mailed. Right. And the state Supreme Court in Pennsylvania said, oh, no, there's a pandemic, it's too bad. I mean, talk about textualism gone, in abeyance. No. Reading this text and saying, oh, this is what the words are, this is what we have to do. State Supreme Court said, hey, we're going to extend it for 3 days, and if there's a postmark but we can't read it, no problem. And in North Carolina, the state election board overturned what the state legislature had done and said, we're going to extend it for 6 more days. So these kinds of things will go to the Supreme Court. Now, the bad Supreme Court under Chief Justice Roberts refused to consider these issues prior to the election. He didn't want politics, but now he's going to be right dab in the middle of politics.
And again, just to lay this out for our viewers, the Constitution is extraordinarily clear. It says that the state legislature shall determine the time, place, and manner of these elections, which means that judges, state election boards, other people cannot overrule the will of the state legislature. But in fact, we have in some of these battleground states that very thing happened. Is that right?
That's exactly right. And what it is these are judges and governors and state election board officials or secretaries of state overruling the legislature without the legal authority to do so under the Constitution, and that will be the basis of the litigation, that they acted illegally and that therefore these deadlines which were extended or other conditions which allowed these votes are unconstitutional, and so those votes cannot count.
Yeah, and that of course would be a decision now that the Supreme Court, because they didn't make the process decision earlier, now the Supreme Court would actually be involved in deciding which votes can and can't be counted. That's the potential issue that the Supreme Court may be facing here in the coming days and weeks.
And our Chief Justice Roberts has shown that he can be intimidated by Democratic threats, and we think that he did this, didn't want to get involved because of the threats to add more justices to the Supreme Court or to put them on rotation if the Democrats won the presidency, the House, and the Senate.
Roger, because there has been, all of our viewers know, there has been this hanging threat that now that there's a conservative majority on the Supreme Court, that if Joe Biden became president, that he, in conjunction with the Congress, may actually move to pack the Supreme Court, that there is that hanging threat. Let me ask you, because both of you were involved in Bush versus Gore back in 2000. When most people think about that decision, they think of it as a 5-4 decision, but in fact, there were two decisions that were made in Bush versus Gore. One was 7-2, the other was 5-4. Give our viewers, remind them the key decisions that were made then in Bush versus Gore.
Basically, what Gore wanted to do was only count Democratic. I want to recount, but just in Democratic counties in Florida. And so the Bush people argued that was a denial of equal protection. You got to count them all, or don't recount any of them, for goodness sake. So 7 of the justices said that's right, it's an equal protection violation. But then the 4 liberal justices said, well, why don't we see if Florida can work it out, we'll send and let them play around with it for a while. And after the decision, because it was 5-4 in Bush's favor, I said to Nino Scalia, Justice Scalia, I said, you knew how the process was going to work out, because if you went through all the things, it was going to take a couple of months, and you just wanted to put everybody out of their misery, because in the end, Bush was going to win. And he said, you're absolutely right.
Well, and when people are looking now at these issues that we have, again, we already have lawsuits in Michigan, in Pennsylvania. The Trump campaign has indicated that they're going to go for a recount in Wisconsin. From your perspective, and it's obviously early days, what do you think are the most salient, most pressing, most likely legal challenges for the president and his team to win on and to be pursuing in the coming days?
First of all, the ones we just talked about, where people who were not the legislature changed state law without a piece of legislation, and that's the easy, low-hanging fruit. After that, it will be fraud, illegal ballots, the crimes being committed with 100,000 ballots, all for Joe Biden, for example, being delivered to the Central Counting Center in Detroit. Things like that, and then just not counting ballots, or improperly forgetting to count ballots, just like Arizona, where there was a technical glitch, and hundreds of thousands of votes were given, which were electronically created out of whole cloth. So there's a lot for the president's lawyers to sue on.
And Victoria, your thoughts?
Oh, well, I mean, Joe just said it all so well. Those are the issues, because those seem to be the battleground states. And except for Arizona, do you think it's curious that the problems are in democratically run states? Is that a coincidence? I don't think so.
Well, it's certainly something that we're going to be following closely here on Actionable Intelligence and at Real America's Voice. In the 20 seconds that we have left, what should our viewers be looking for in the next day or two? Most likely and important things that you think are going to happen in the next day.
Well, now that ABC News has rescinded its projection that Biden is the winner in Arizona, it appears that some of the news organizations are beginning to realize there's been some major mistakes made because of this irrational process.
We will
was adopted.
absolutely be following Arizona very closely. Victoria and Joe, thank you guys again.